Alright, so you see here I got those pieces assembled that I mentioned earlier. This is kind of the way it would look. Now, just a few tips here. When you're mounting this rear little elbow bracket, make sure you're very square. Make sure that, especially at this part here, you want to make sure that all of this is not kind of tilted. If this is tilted like either to the left or to the right, you want this to be square down the middle before you tighten anything up. So make sure you have that, again, very square going out towards the center. Now this top part here, I had to redo it. There are two tiny set screws that merge this part with the top handle here. Just two tiny little set screws. They work fine, you're not going to have any problems, but you want to make sure that they're tightened up pretty well. Now, if you plan on putting this together, what I can tell you is that you want to make sure that you examine this piece right here in the middle. You examine it very carefully. Have the set screw facing outward, not behind this bar, because you're going to struggle trying to tighten up those screws if it's back here over this pipe. You don't want to reach in between here to try and tighten up a screw. You want to come out through the front. So very important, make sure you have one of the set screws facing out here. The other one is just going to be off to the side. So it's going to be way easier to make sure that those screws are tight. Otherwise, this system is not going to hold in place from the top to the bottom. Again, two tiny little set screws. I actually put this on backwards and I had to take the whole thing apart and reverse it and get that back in. Another thing is when this merges together, it's got to be very, very flush. There is a flat part of this top area and that will allow it to drop all the way down. So make sure that this is down as far as possible. I don't know if you can see how mine looks like, but it should look like that. If it's not lined up with the flat part within the bottom bearing here, then you're going to have some space and that's not right. You're not going to be able to secure it very well. So make sure that it sits all the way down. It's flat. There's one flat part that has to fit with the other flat part. And then the two set screws, one facing out and one off to the side. It's going to make your life much easier. So let me finish up putting the other stuff together. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and attach this bottom plate to the bottom of this bracket here. I'm just going to tighten up the rest of these screws, and then I'm going to start building the brackets that go off to the side handles as well as the top handle. So let me get that started right now. Alright, so to build out the top handle, you're going to have these two weird looking shaped brackets here. You're going to get a bunch of these clamps. When you combine them together, you'll be able to clamp onto a tube. So you're going to take two of these and you're going to place it in the middle of this. So what you want to do is make sure that they're facing the same way. You have your threads out on one side. So what you'll do is you'll assemble a clamp in the middle here, and you're going to place it right in between. This is what it should look like. If you guys could see this up close, you got the two halves here, and then so it's like this, and then you have the two halves here, and then these clamps are facing in this direction, like that, and then one on the opposite side also. So don't tighten them up all the way. Just get them to a point where they'll sit. Half of it will have its own set screws on one side. The other half you have to add the little end nuts here. But don't tighten them all the way because we got to get the tubes into this. So what will happen is on the gimbal, is we will add this guy up here. So let's see which way it goes. This way. Okay, so just like that. So again, make sure before you tighten everything up, everything is looking pretty square. So I need to turn this out a little bit. And then tighten that up. Once I have that tightened up, I'm going to add a top handle into the top slot right up here. So that way my handle is going over the pan axis here for better balance. So that is the direction. Let me see if I can get this in here too. So just like that. Again, make sure everything looks pretty square. And then we tighten everything up. Alright, so I have that all tightened up here. We are almost there. Next thing I'm going to do is add the handles on the right side here. So you're going to have 4 of these brackets. And what we want to do is we want to add these clamps in the middle of these brackets. Alright, so I have them together. I think I said 3 clamps, but actually it ends up being 4 clamps. You have 2 clamps in this direction here, and then you have 2 clamps in this direction here. So overall there's 4 clamps on each of these. So what we're going to do is we're going to add them to the handles. So we're going to do it this way. So the handles are going in that way. You have the 2 clamps that are closest to each other. We're going to have those off to the side. So don't tighten them up just yet. So make sure everything is, once again, flush. And then we will add them to the gimbal. Let's bring this gimbal over here. Remember, try to keep everything as square as possible. So we're going to get these up on the side. Now notice how I'm doing this. I'm coming in on the side. I'm not, some guys are mounting it in a way where it comes under this handle. Now what ends up happening is you're going to lose a couple of inches, and the handles get real narrow. So I prefer to mount it off to the side, so come in on the side here. So let's put that in. Let's get the other side in here. Okay, there you go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that these are squared up before I tighten them down. And then we'll move on to our next project.